Okay, and we're live back once again here at Ielts Filipino Nurses Group. And in behalf of the admins, Sir Jeff, Miss Gladys, Sir Manuel, and Miss Michelle, we welcome you all. And tonight we have a special lecture for one of the experts from 9.0 Review Center, Miss Geraldyn Solis, to tackle about the lecture about the listening, the maps, process, and gap fill. And Miss Den, welcome back to IELTS Filipino Nurses Group.
Hello, thank you so much, sir, for the very warm welcome as always. It's so nice to be with all of you. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. So here in the Philippines, it's the evening time zone. So I'm wishing you guys all well. I'd like to greet all of you a belated Happy Hearts Day. I hope your hearts are happy and filled with so much love in whatever form that may be. So thank you so much naman for joining me for this evening session of the IELTS listening series. So we've been doing this for quite some time already. My other colleagues have discussed several types of lectures about listening, but for today, we'll be featuring or we'll be focusing on maps and actually just two types, maps and the process or gap fill kind of test. So hello everyone for those who are participating. I'm just logging in. Yeah, using my so that I can see also the comments on Facebook. So there you go. Can I hear it from the people here on Zoom? Hello, everyone. Please feel free to chat, to say hi, to say where you're coming from. Yeah, and so that we can get to know each other. So I'm pretty sure that with the reach of IFNG, people are coming from all sorts of the world or all parts. Diba? Very global ang IFNG. So let me change my question naman. What professions do you have for those who are listening? Because I know not only most of the medical health allied professionals are attending today's class, but for several instances, I can hear or I've gotten to know people who are speech pathologists, ano ba, yung mga skilled workers also who are attending the class. So may I know those people, those who are on Zoom or here sa Facebook, anong professions po ninyo? Perhel is a nurse from Saudi Arabia. Okay, hello sa Saudi Arabia. Ayan, how about the others po? Yan, para we can get to know each other mo. A little warm up muna. Okay. Nurse also. So we have several nurses, a couple of nurses already. Yan, how about the rest? Hello to everyone. Nurse also. So the others are nurses. Okay. So I am a lecturer from 9.09er and I am I'm a nutritionist by profession. So I do that on the side. I still have clients from my nutrition service, but this is also a new endeavor that I'm trying to do, and it's a newfound vocation. Shelly Ray, ayan, si Shelly Ray from Riyadh is a nurse, I think. Yan. So, nurse from the Philippines naman si Ren. Yan. So, paramedic. Wow. I have so much respect for nurses and paramedics kasi I don't have that fight or flight mechanism that you say, yung emergency situations. I don't have that. That's why I didn't try at all to venture into yung food service because in our field, sa nutrition field, food service yung pinaka fast-paced. So I didn't try to venture into that. I don't see myself in that field. Midwife, si Bless. Hello, Bless. Okay, so there. At least we've come to know each other, guys. So I hope for today's lecture, you will have some insights about listening. I specifically chose the topic maps, by the way, because this is one of the topics that I had a hard time understanding when I was reviewing. So I hope that for this test or for this session, you will feel free to ask questions when it comes to the maps. Whatever it is that you feel like asking, so that I can also assist you. All right? Sige, let me just share my screen and share the sound because you need to hear the sound of my files. By the way, we will be doing some practice exercises for today. So I hope that you have your pens and your papers ready also. And then please do inform me if you're not seeing my screen clearly so that I can adjust the settings. Yan, I will just, ayan. Same here, si Bless. Bless, what's your problem when it comes to the maps or those other people, those other students? Ano yung problem nyo when it comes to maps and processes? What is it that makes it hard for you? Ano yung mahirap? For me, I think it's following directions. When I was reviewing, I had a hard time with maps because I know that I directions are not my strongest suit. Mahina talaga ako sa directions. Following directions. That's why I don't know how to drive. I'm a little intimidated about driving because of the direction problems. Okay, it's hard to follow through maps while listening to the audio. Yeah, because in listening, you have to do a lot of things at the same time. You have to listen to the audio because it will only be played once. And then while listening, you have to understand what is being said. And while doing that, you have also to read or to watch the words, watch out for the words or wait for them. But there's a lot that is happening when it comes to listening. But then again, you just have to actually master them and just conquer them one step at a time. Okay? Kasi the trick in conquering these kinds of things is actually for you to be able to do a single or at least conquer a single problem or a single fear, one fear at a time muna. Sometimes kasi you get to be overwhelmed if you think na it's hard for the maps, it's hard for this kind of question, it's hard for the gap fill. So that's why here in the listening series, we're trying to choose types of questions so that we can focus on them. Yun. Okay, very good. Bless from Zoom said she's actually having a hard time with different kinds of words like parallel, across, adjacent. Yeah, so she's losing focus most of the time. She's having a hard time to understand also or to follow. Okay, sige, understood. But at least more or less you have somewhere to go from. Sige. I'm just changing the settings of my screens. It's not reflecting here. Okay, there you go. I hope you can see there. Yan na, okay na? All right, let's proceed. So in here, we'll do quick run through first of what we have here for the Ielts listening. So for the overview, you guys know that for listening, the duration is actually 30 minutes for the audio, both for paper delivered and for computer delivered test. You will have roughly 30-minute audio divided into 4 parts, and each part has around 10 questions, okay? For paper-based test, you will be given 10 minutes at the end of all the 4 parts, okay? So you'll be given 10 minutes to transfer your answer because for your paper-delivered or paper-based kind of test, you will be given a questionnaire booklet, plus you will also have your answer sheet, which is a separate type. Okay, I do suggest that if you're going to take paper-based listening, you write your answers in the booklet, since you will be given an extra 10 minutes time for you to transfer your answers. So just spend your 10 minutes in transferring your answers on the answer sheet. But for the entirety of the 30-minute audio, you can just write on the questionnaire booklet. So no problem about that. Okay, so dun kayo susulat so that whenever it is the time that you hear the answer, you won't be juggling with your answer sheet, at tapos you will have to flip dun sa questionnaire booklet. So dun na lang kayo focus muna on the questionnaire booklet. Okay? Yan. And then, for the computer delivered, you don't have to worry about anything because you will directly answer on the you'll directly be answering on the on your computer. Okay, later I will show you a very quick video about the computer delivered test format. So by the way, I got that from IELTS official YouTube video. Okay. So as I've mentioned, you have around 4 parts for the whole listening test, and yung 4 parts na yun has 10 questions. So you have a total of 40 questions and for the entire listening test. Now, each question, each correct answer merits 1 point. So equal din yung points niya. Regardless if it's in part 1, part 2, or part 3, all has 1 point only. So all of which are equivalent to 1 point only. Yan. So equal siya. Okay? So that's why whenever you have doubts on a certain answer, or whenever it takes you a while to answer, just skip it. Or if you think na answer na yung second number, just skip that one that you've missed. Okay? Because it might have a negative effect on the succeeding questions. Because if you miss one number, usually it all follows through that. The next question, yung answer will be already following through with that one. Okay? Materials. So in terms of materials for paper-based, as I mentioned, you'll be given questionnaire booklet and then the answer sheet. Later on, I'll show you a copy of the answer sheet. Plus, usually, if it's paper delivered test, you only have a speaker. If it's a computer delivered test, you will be sitting in a unit. Of course, it's not a laptop though. You'll be sitting in a unit. So medyo it's like a cubicle, small cubicle, and you have your headset. Okay, so for me personally, the headset worked well, not only for the purpose of the listening subtest, but also for the other subtests, because it's kind of screening the other sounds, the other extra sounds that I hear. So yun. Okay, and then yun, reminders, you have to write all final answers on your answer sheet if you're going to take paper-based. Kasi although I've mentioned that you have to write first your answer in your questionnaire booklet as the audio is playing, so dun sa extra 10 minutes, that's the time that you have to transfer your answers. Anything that is written on your questionnaire but is not found on your answer sheet will not be considered as correct answer, even though tama yung nasa questionnaire ninyo. So yung final talaga that will be checked by the examiner will be yung nasa answer sheet ninyo. Okay? Plus, guys, the recording is only played once, so you really have to focus on whatever it is that are found or that's being played. Okay. Sige. Harleen is asking a question. Is there a paper or sheet? There will be a paper that will be given because the listening test is the first test in yung group ng listening, reading, and writing. That happens first. You will be given a sheet of paper. That sheet of paper contains the details or the information that you've used to register for your exam. But then again, as I mentioned, you will be given a questionnaire booklet. If I were you, I will just write the initial answers on the questionnaire booklet and then transfer it to answer sheet. Okay? Is there a paper or sheet in the computer-based? Okay. Sige, correct. Computer-based, yes, there's a paper that will be given to you. That is the paper that's containing yung details that I've mentioned. Yung full name, the ID, number, yan. So meron naman. There will be a paper that will be given for you. Okay. So far, we're done with this. Next, let's focus on, yan. So I'll be playing this one. This is from YouTube, by the way, from Ielts.com. This is the official page. Okay. All right. So let's play this one. Please tell me, guys, if you can hear the audio properly. Is it loud enough? Okay.
For the listening test, you can change the volume by using the volume bar in the top right at any time during the test. For each part of the listening test, you will hear the recording once only. Some parts of the test have more than one type of question. Each type of question has its own instructions. In the listening test, listen carefully for the part number and question numbers to make sure you are looking at the right screen. For some questions, you need to write your answer in the gap. For some questions, you need to choose which diagram label, A, B, C, etc., is correct for which item listed in the table. For each question, click on the correct space in the table. For some questions, you need to click on an answer and move it into the gap. If you want to change an answer, move another answer into the gap. If you want to leave the question unanswered, move the question back. And for some questions, you need to move an answer into a gap on a diagram. At the end of the listening test, you'll have 2 minutes to check all of your answers. The tests will automatically stop when the time finishes.
Okay, there you go. So I hope you have, with that short video, that's computer delivered IELTS video tutorial, I hope you were able to learn or at least grasp how it would look like for your test for listening if you're going to take computer delivered. It's a little easy in a way, but then again, there are certain challenges also because you won't have an extra time anymore to write down your answers. 10 minutes is really something that can still matter when it comes to verifying your answers or checking out for grammar and so on, or the capitalization or the spellings of your answer. It would really matter. But then again, if you think that the audio will be played during those 10 minutes, no, it will not. If the audio is played, that will be done only once for the entirety of your whole IELTS exam. Okay? So you really have to make the most out of those 30 minutes that you're listening to the audio material. All right. So let's proceed with the paper delivered kind of test or paper based. This is how your test will look like. Test paper or answer sheet. This is actually how it looks like. And please do take note that you have to make sure that in this part, you can see, or there, you will read here, yan, listening, yan, on this part, okay? Because your reading test answer sheet is also similar to this, except that instead of listening, what is written here is reading. So sometimes some people make that mistake of writing their listening answers on the reading answer sheet. So that's actually a boo-boo that you must not commit. Okay, so that's a careless mistake. So never, never, never commit that. So make sure that you're writing on the listening part. Also, another thing that I'd like to mention, if you kindly focus on this one, the numbers are number 1 goes from this part up until this part. So numbers 1 to 20 going down is on the first column, and then 21 to 40 is on the second column going down. Okay, so some people also try to commit a mistake wherein they try to answer zigzag format like this, like that. No, that's not the proper way to answer. Okay, so yun. So it should be like this, down to like this. So this is your 40. Sorry, 20. Yeah, so these are the common mistakes. So I hope these things, as I cover them also, you'll be much more aware, and hopefully you will be able to not commit them during your exam. All right? Okay, so far no questions about this. All right, you have to answer. I do suggest that for your listening as well as for your reading, please write all caps, all capital letters, and write legibly if you're doing this na paper-based test, okay? Because it matters also. Whenever you have errors or mistakes, I do suggest that you just cross it out rather than erasing it. So just cross it out, okay? It's better for you to just do that because it saves time, it's more efficient, and it's less troublesome for you to do that. Sometimes other people commit errors when it comes to the erasing. I don't know. Probably it's because of the nerves, right? Okay. So let's move on to the overview. For listening, you have 4 parts as I've mentioned, and each part has 10 questions. So each part, before this was called sections, but from 2020 onwards, each section is now called parts. So part 1, part 2, and so on up until part 4. In terms of the content, usually the context for part 1 and for part 2 are social conversations. What are social conversations? Usually a call between a doctor and the patient, or a reservation agent and a client, or visitors to a particular site or a particular tourist attraction. So these are the kinds of social context conversations or content that you find in your listening. For part 1, usually that's a dialogue. So 2 people are talking. For part 2, usually 1 person is talking. For example, for part 2, you might find a conversation about the opening, or sorry, for part 2, you might find a person talking about the opening hours of a pool area, or at let's say a swimming area or a sports center. What are the other amenities that can be found there? So it happens for monologue. So in terms of the speaker, it also varies. For part 3 up until the part 4, in terms of the context, it changes to something that is a little more difficult than the previous one that we had. Context would be more professional. Sometimes everything, something that has to do about work or school, something like that. So much more difficult in context. And in terms of the format, you may still get a dialogue, or sometimes 3 people will be talking for part 3. But for part 4, definitely that would be a monologue. So 10, for part 4, 10 questions and 10 numbers you have to answer, and you only have to focus on the one voice that is talking. So you're just imagine how much focus you have to put into for listening, and how much control you have to take over, so that your fear and your anxiety wouldn't get the best of you for listening. Okay. We have a question. Thank you for your questions, by the way. Les has a question. All caps, does it also apply to computer delivered test? Yes. Whether it be computer delivered test or paper-based test, we recommend that for reading and for listening, you use all capital letters. Okay. For computer delivered test, one tip, I got this from my husband. One tip: if the first time that you sat down on your place, you just type. You make sure that all letters are working well, so that you won't have a problem soon enough whenever you started with your exam. Because the worst thing that you can experience is to know that your letter T is not working, or your L key is not working, and your audio is playing already. That's the worst thing that may happen to you. So make sure that all the keys are functioning properly. Just type anything. Type A, B, C, D, or whatever. Make sure everything is working. Okay? I'm looking at the questions from... Okay, there you go. There. So Martina and Bless have the same question. So I've answered it directly. Computer and paper, paper-based, all caps. Okay. What else? So there you go. Usually, for our specific topic, the maps, the dreaded maps, usually it's found in part 2 or part 3, but um, it's more frequently found here in the part 2 rather than in the part 3. There are some instances or some mock exams that I've tried that there are maps on section 3. So sometimes like that, but most likely it's in part 2. Okay? So sometimes you're lucky, you will not get a map in your exam, or sometimes you will get a map. But then again, it's always necessary and it would always be important and helpful for you to practice the maps. Okay? Parang si Dora lang tayo, no? Map, map, map. Okay. Any questions so far about the overview of listening? None? Okay, because I'm pretty sure that you somehow have an idea already as to listening. I hope some of you tried listening already, no? Yan. Okay. Sige. Hello to our 163 participants. Ayan. So, invite your friends over. Yan. Para we'll have a session, an e-session, learning session. Okay. So, apart from the introduction that I've mentioned, we'll be focusing on maps and then 2 topics, major topics, maps, and then the process or the gap fill later on. But I'd like to give more emphasis on this one, yung maps. That is why, that is why we have here vocabulary for the maps, the directions, the locational phrases that are found during yung discussions for the maps. Also, sometimes you might find distractors. Itong distractors na to really will get the best of you sometimes. So, I'm also victimized by this distractors na phrases or sentences or words. Yon. Okay? So, you have to have that clear insight as to whether a phrase or a sentence is a distractor or whether is it a phrase that contains the answer to the question. Okay? So let's look at an example of a map. Okay, so this is one kind of map. So in this kind of map, you will find here letters. Okay, letters in the map: A, B, C, D, E, F, up until letter G. Now, sometimes there's a different kind of maps wherein instead of getting letters here, you get numbers. Okay, so the numbers are found here, and then you will just have to answer. So probably an option is given here. What is number 14? What part is number 14? So something like that. Okay, so but anyway, still the purpose of which is to identify what part of the theater plan is letter A, what part is letter E, what part is D, and so on and so forth. Okay. As you can see, some of the parts here, such as some of the parts are labeled already. The water cooler, it's labeled here. The double doors, the foyer is already here. Please do take note that sometimes, especially for these kinds of map, yan, if it's all lines like this, sometimes you tend to mistake or you tend to forget to look at some details like the road here. I cannot use my annotation tool anymore because it can't reach this part yet. Okay. This part. So I hope you've seen the road here. How many of you have seen this? If you have, pat on the back. If not, please, please, please have a keen eye on details, especially for the maps. Okay, and then the entrance also here. You have 2 entrances here. There's the water cooler, as I've mentioned. You have the double doors, and then the foyer, and then foyer, and then all the rest are letters. Okay, so careful on the things that you see and the things that you do not see. Make sure that you have grasped entirely what is presented in the in the map in front of you. Okay, so usually for listening, you're given time before the audio is played to actually look into the material that you have, the questions actually in your questionnaire booklet or on your screen. please do make use of that time to analyze and to check out the details that are presented so that whenever you hear the exact words such as water cooler or double doors, so whenever you hear that, you know where you are coming from. You know that it's the starting point for the movement, especially in this kind of a map. Yan. So usually there is a starting point, and then you're kind of moving towards this direction, or you might be moving from this, going here, or sometimes moving here, right? So there is movement in the maps whenever it is presented to us. So you have to listen well. You have to identify your starting point. That's the best trick for you to do that. Okay? So how about let's do this one. Any questions so far? So no questions naman. No? This is fairly easy. This is rather easy. Yan. So later we'll do that. But first off, I want to check. Are you familiar with the cardinal directions, guys? So typically, whenever you encounter maps, you encounter words, directionals, or words that indicate directions like north, west, east, south. Yan. So always remember that it looks like this. Yan. Some people, they try to add, what do you call this? Acronyms that make it easier for them to remember which part is referring to the northern direction or the upward direction, and then which part refers to something that is at the bottom or at the south, which is referring to the east or the right, which is referring to the west or the left. I don't know. Can somebody share if they have their own way of how they memorize these directions, yung 4 basic directions? Because there was a time that I'm having a hard time before understanding this. How about you guys? Can you share to the others who are here with us today, tonight, this morning ba? Ayun. How did you come to understand fully by heart? Yon, news. Okay. Yes, we all know the news. Correct, correct. Yan. So itong news, very important. But sometimes there are people who are confused with West. Ay, there are people who are confused with West and confused with the East. So what makes it easy? Okay, what makes it easy? How do you remember West and East? Pwedeng ganyan lang yung movement nyo. O, diba? Harry Potter, guys. Harry Potter. Always remember na lang si Harry Potter. North, East, West, and South. O, yun na yun. Si Harry Potter. O, yun. For if you have another way to remember it, it's okay also. But for me, I think I just thought of Harry Potter now. Anyway. Okay, so yan. North, East, West, and South. So yan lang. Pwede na yan. Or sometimes, what I just remember here is yung East, the sun rises in the East, and I know that the sun rises dun sa right. The sun is always right. I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know how you will remember it. But this is very important. Okay? Because even up until now, there are still students that have hard time with ito. Yung West and then the East. Okay? Make sure that you're not having trouble with these kinds of things, because if you are, then it would really affect your attack or your approach when it comes to the maps. Okay? Okay, let me clear this one. Okay. Michelle Soberano is sharing her techniques. Michelle said, kaliwa daw with the W, kaliwa, tapos kenen daw. Kasi may E. Okay na sa inyo yon? O, mas madali yatang tandaan yon. Michelle Soberano, thank you so much for kaliwa, for the W, and Kenen for the right. O, ba? Diba? Right or left. O. Okay. Oh. Thank you so much, my loves. We have a guest, come, my loves. We have a guest lecturer. My husband is the guest lecturer. Ayan, sabi niya, sa clock daw, the number 3 sounds like east. 3 east. 3 east. So, yung natitira, yung W, that's the left na. Okay? So, yun. Ang dami nyo ng signs. Dami nyo ng techniques. E road, E right. Ay, wait, where's that? West, left, E is right, I. O, yun. Ang dami yung styles. Ang dami yung techniques. Basta, whatever it is that works for you, I'm fine with that. As long as sakto tayo dito. Right? Ay, sorry. Hindi pala left to. The left is here. Okay? So, pasok na. Sana natutunan. Yun lang po ang listening natin ngayon. Hindi, charot. Joke lang. Okay, so thank you for those who were giving suggestions. Ayan, so ito nga yung clock naman. Oo nga, kasi ito yung 12, yung 3, or yung number 3 ninyo, baliktad na E, east. O, diba? Okay na yun. Sige. Thank you. Natuwa ako dito kay Shit. Ay, sige. Medyo intelligent yung kay John Michael Brown Cardona, West Philippine Sea on the left side. Okay. Tama naman. Nandito si West Philippine Sea on the left side. True, true, true. Okay. Thank you for your suggestions. Let's move on now. Ayan. So, these are common locational phrases that are used during the IELTS exam. So if you read here, so let me just read sometimes you will hear go straight, turn left, turn right, go straight ahead, go along, keep going, go through, or sometimes you will hear away from, or you will hear take the first left, take the first right, take the second left, take the second right, or in the roundabout. So yung mga ganyan, go past the bridge, go walk, or walk past the bridge, walk past the tree, walk past the bush. So yun, or cross the bridge, cross the street, across the ganyan. So yun. So if you're using these kinds on the left, yan, in this portion, it denotes movement. Ibig sabihin, if it says go straight, so ibig sabihin, you're going to go straight. So, but when you're comparing it with the other phrases that are found on the right side, ito on the white, yung not highlighted na portion, phrases that do not denote movement. Okay, phrases that do not denote movement, yung lang sila, fixed lang siya. Next to, close to, near, in the vicinity, in the middle, after, past the blank. Sometimes past the bridge, past the supermarket, past the theater, yan. O kaya sometimes inside, in, adjacent to, or next to the church, between the two trees. So these are the kinds of phrases that you find. If you're using these, so it means that you're trying to present location already, the exact, no movement is found here. In here, gagalaw kayo. Okay, as you've mentioned naman, or as I've mentioned here. So you'll kind of move towards a certain direction. Okay? Yung opposite, you're not moving. It's exactly pointing out where the location of a particular place is, or of a particular landmark is in a map. Okay? So yun. Alright. So let's look at this one. As I've mentioned, this is a type 1 map. Later on, I will show you a type 2 map. Okay. Wait, let me just remind everyone. Request lang po to please mute your devices. Thank you so much. Okay. Yan. So far, are there any questions before we proceed with this one? Because I'll be playing already an example for this one. No questions? Wala. Okay, ready na sila for the map. Sige, let's do this, guys. So this is just 4 numbers, 17 to 20. Okay.
Section. Look at questions 17 to 20.
Okay, you can hear clearly, guys, no, the audio. Okay naman for those in Zoom or Facebook. Okay, sige, let's proceed.
Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20. Now, a word about the layout of the building. The auditorium, stage and dressing rooms for the actors are all below ground level. Here on the ground floor, we have most of the rooms that the public doesn't see. The majority are internal, so they have windows in the roof to light them. Standing here in the foyer, you're probably wondering why the box office isn't here, where the public would expect to find it. Well, you might have noticed it on your way in. Although it's part of this building, it's next door, with a separate entrance from the road. For the theatre manager's office, you go across the foyer and through the double doors. Turn right, and it's the room at the end of the corridor, with the door on the left. The lighting box is where the computerized stage lighting is operated, and it's at the back of the building. When you're through the double doors, turn left, turn right at the water cooler, and right again at the end. It's the second room along that corridor. The lighting box has a window into the auditorium, which of course is below us. The artistic director's office is through the double doors, turn right, and it's the first room you come to on the right-hand side. And finally, for the moment, the room where I'll take you next, the relaxation room. So, if you'd like to come with me. That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, so how was it, guys? How was it? Were you able to answer? Yeah, and please type your answers. Mayroong not sure. Sino yung may... Somebody typed yung answer and then may question mark at the end. Bakit? Why my question mark? Not sure. Bakit not sure? Yan, okay. So, correct. Sure na. Air said from sure na daw. Okay. So, is it easy or difficult ito? Is it easy? Average? Difficult? Okay. For those who said the answer is G. Okay. The first one, easy. Easy lang. Correct. There's a little confusion though with yung 18 and 19. Yan. 18 and 19, a little confusing lang siya. Why is it a little confusing? Let's listen again. I think most of you got the first one correct, yung box office. It's very easy. Although there was a distractor there. Did you hear about yung question number, what's that? Theater manager's office. Sorry. Did you hear about the word with a separate entrance from the road? You've mentioned that, right? Correct. Yan. So, merong although, wait, I will show you this one yung transcript niya. Yan. All of you, most of you got it correct naman. Very easy lang yung part na yon. Although very careful lang kayo. Congratulations, you got the correct answer. Kahit na meron siyang distractor. Good job for that, guys. But for number 18, some of you had trouble with this one. Instead of answering letter D, the correct answer, by the way, is D for this one. Okay, this is letter D. Yan. 18 is letter D. Yan. Where can we find that? Okay. So, balikan natin. Starting from 18 onwards. Balikan natin si 18 onwards. We have time. Okay. Sige. Where is that?
17 to 20.
Okay. If you remember, guys, there was a time wherein it says that you will be given time to check on the number 17 to 20. So during that time, roughly that's around 30 seconds, you can just take a look at what are the details that are found here and take a look also at what are the questions that should be found. Usually, it's easy for listening because the answers will be found in order. So within the transcript or within the audio, the directions for the box office would be mentioned first, and then after that, the direction for theater manager's office, and then lighting box, and then artistic director's office. I am encouraging you to look at this part already so that if you hear theater manager's office, something like that, it means to say that you may have missed out on the answer for box office already. Okay, so look at the next one. Not unless, if for example, the lightning box is something that is mentioned, but it says it's beside the theater box, so it's okay because this one appears before the lighting box. But then it will not be used yung artistic director's office. It will not be used to be a basis where the lighting box is because it is number 20 and lighting box is number 19. So it does not happen that way. So meaning to say, yung lighting box, pwede yung reference niya either the box office or the theater, but never artistic director's office. So yun lang. You just have to clearly see yung what is presented dun sa next or yung immediate niya para you will know if you skipped it already or not. Kasi sometimes, if you skipped it already, yung box office, na-skip nyo na siya, you will still be focused on box office. And na-mention na si theater manager, lighting box. So sometimes, nagiging ano siya, it becomes as a parang domino effect already. If you missed something, you will tendency is you will miss the other things already. Okay? So yun, sige, focus na tayo. Balik na tayo dito. Okay.
Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
Now, a word about the layout of the building. The auditorium, stage and dressing rooms for the actors are all below ground level. Here on the ground floor, we have most of the rooms that the public doesn't see. The majority are internal, so they have windows in the roof to light them. Standing here in the foyer, you're probably wondering why the box office isn't here, where the public would expect to find it. Well, you might have noticed it on your way in, Although it's part of this building, it's next door, with a separate entrance from the road. For the theatre manager's office, you go across the foyer and through the double doors. Turn right, and it's the room at the end of the corridor, with the door on the left. The lighting box is where the computerized stage lighting is operated, and it's at the back of the building. When you're through the double doors, turn left, turn right at the water cooler, and right again at the end. It's the second room along that corridor. The lighting box has a window into the auditorium, which of course is below us. The artistic director's office is through the double doors, turn right, and it's the first room you come to on the right-hand side. And finally, for the moment, the room where I'll take you next, the relaxation room. So, if you'd
Okay, there you go, guys. So were you able to follow? Sorry, I'm having a problem with my annotation. Yeah. The trick here though is that you turn left, turn right, you will actually base it on where you are facing. For example, when you're going through the double doors and then you're going to turn right, and then you're going to walk, and then you're going to turn right, ibig sabihin, you will not be focused on here, which is the right of the floor plan, but yung direction that you're going to. Correct? So parang you have to imagine yourself. Pag dito ako nakaharap, I'm going to turn right, that's F. If I'm facing this one, yung side naman of the double doors, yung E dito. So that's also a different thing. So sometimes you're a little confused with these parts. Probably that's because of yun nga, the directionals. This one, it's easy in a way, but there's a little difficulty when it comes to the directionals because you have to follow yung direction of the movement. You're moving constantly rin kasi dito. So yun. Some people, they're having a problem with yung mga turn right na ganyan. Especially if there are two, for example, here, you're going to turn right. There are two things here eh. On the right, literally, on the right, merong D dito, and then meron din turn right dito on the F. So sometimes you're having a problem with that one. Yan. So yung mga ganun. Okay? So for the others who had a mistake, was that the instance or was that the problem why you had mistakes? Yung you had to follow the direction you're going to. Sometimes it is. Was that your concern? So, yun. I keep on practicing lang. Keep on practicing and practicing and practicing. But, yep, this one is a fairly easy type of map. Okay, fairly easy lang siya. Okay, ano yung mistakes for the others? You overheard the turn right. Okay, oo nga. Yeah, sometimes when you overhear or you're not focused, yun. Okay, so focus talaga. Very important for this one. When I was taking the exam, tip ko lang sa inyo when I was taking the exam, I took the exam with my husband. Siyempre, bagong kasal kami nun, kinikilig-kilig pa ako, di ba? Tapos ang gwapo niya, guys. Kahit na ang gwapo niya, talaga focus ako. Listening lang. Doon lang ako nakafocus. Yung ears ko lang talaga nakafocus. I'm not looking at him or anybody. Talagang 100% sa listening. Kasi here in the listening, hindi uulitin. It will not be repeated even if you're given 30 minutes. Kanina, di ba, at the last part, it was mentioned na you will be given 30 minutes or half a minute to review your answers. Now, the purpose of that half a minute is not for you to review your answers because you can never review it. Not unless, I don't know what kind of memory, if there's a memory that you can recall whatever it is that you've heard, pwede. Pero, it's not like that. Yung listening kasi iba siyang memory. Visual, meron mga photographic memory. I think that will not really work for you here because you need the audio as your reference for listening. So kaya kailangan focus ka lang talaga dito. So it's just you, yourself, the computer, and the map in front of you. So ganun lang siya. Okay? So yun. Fairly easy. Now, I'll be giving you a different kind of map here. Okay. Ano yung mistakes ng others? Ayan, may overheard. Okay. So, you've overheard something. I'll give you a different kind of map here. So, in this kind of map, oopsie, sorry. All right. So, in this kind of map, so, all right. This is the second kind of map that you will see. A while ago, what we had was the letters are found inside the map. But in here, where do you find the letters? Where do you find the letters? The letters are here, right? So it's part of the options, correct? So it's part of the options. So it's outside, correct? But in the sense, it will still be the same because first off, the answer would still appear chronologically. So you still have to follow, meaning to say the answer for what this is, because this is number 11, so it would still be something that you hear first, and then next you'll hear this one, you'll hear this one up until you reach the last, which is number 17. It will still be chronological. So you just have to take note that the focus that you have for the listening material should still be intact, and it should still be 100% because again, if you miss a certain part of it, if you haven't taken note of a certain portion of a certain part of the festival site, you might be missing out a point because, for example, your answer for number 11 might be used as a reference for number 12 or number 13. So sometimes there are instances like that. Yung answer for number 14 might be coming from number 13 or number 12. So it really has to be something that you can make sure that you're focused on answering. Okay. Also, in some instances, for example, you have this one. How many numbers do you need to answer? From 11 to 17, how many numbers? 7. Yeah, based on the instructions, you need 7 answers for this one. And you need 7 answers, but then again, how many options do you have? Very good, Jan, Andre Domingo, Maidelin Halig, Michelle Soberano, Kathleen Dayaw, good job. Christina, good job. Yan, so ito na. You need 7 answers, but your options are 9 options. So you have an excess of 2 options. So this makes this listening part, yung maps, a little more difficult than the usual. Okay, although you will not be repeating your answers, it means that you have an excess too. Okay, not unlike the other one. I think the other one it's exactly the same, but this one it's more tricky. Okay, so I'll just be looking for the audio for this one. Are you ready, guys? Are you ready for this? Yan, question number this one. Ready. John Andre Domingo is ready. Okay, so let me just find that one. Here you go, guys.
Section 2. You will hear the organizer of a rock festival talking to the exhibitors and performers at a planning meeting. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 17 on page 3. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 17.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad you could all make this planning meeting for what promises to be the biggest and most colourful free rock festival ever held in the South East. So whether you're a performer, a craft exhibitor or an artist, we all extend a big welcome to you. Could we turn first to the plan so I can familiarise you with the layout of the site, which, as you know, is an old football stadium. We're really lucky to have so much space this year. You can see the main gate at the bottom of the plan. Have you found it? That's where most visitors will enter. It's also the entrance for those taking part in the craft fair. We've set the stalls just inside the gate on the left in a circle. If you walk straight ahead from the gate along the path without turning right, you'll come to some steps up to the football stadium. On the left of the steps is the Fringe Stage. This is for alternative artists. They include folk singers, poets and other acts which are more suited to a smaller stage. And they should also enter by the main gate. On the opposite side of the steps is a restaurant, and adjoining that is the main festival information point. Here you can get extra programmes and up-to-the-minute information about events, and you can discuss any last-minute problems, although we hope everything will be running smoothly when the festival opens. Coming back to the plan, you go up the stairs to the stadium. The entrance for the rock bands is on the far side, and on your right is the main stage, which will have powerful illumination and amplification throughout the weekend. There will probably be TV vehicles adjacent, that's in this area only, for recording purposes. If you look at the outside of the plan, you can see a third gate for exhibitors, opening onto a side path. A little way down the path, before you get to the trees, is the building where the art exhibition's being housed. Then, finally, there's just one more building marked on your plan, quite near the main gate. It's divided into lock-up garages, so I hope you now feel quite familiar with the main festival area.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 18 to 20 on page 4.
Okay, so there you go. Please type your answers in the chat box, guys, for number 11 to 17. Okay, 11 to 17, what are your answers? Okay. Comments coming through. All right. How about the rest? Okay, good job. All right, most of you actually got it correctly. Great job, guys. The correct answer is letter D. Wait, let me just type it in the chat box. Correct answer. Here you go. I'm typing it both in the Zoom chat box as well as here on Facebook Live so that you have a copy of this one also. Okay. Correct answer is D, F, I, B, E, A, G. Yan, I hope you got it correctly. There are several of you who got most of it correctly. The others, though, okay lang. It's still, there's no worries. This is the time for you to actually make mistakes and learn from these mistakes because we will get back to these questions. Yan. Most of you got the first 3 numbers correctly, right? Did you get the first 3 numbers correctly? Yan, I'll type it in the chat box. Yan. How many mistakes for the others? DFI. Yan. So I think the concern though lies in number 14 onwards. For most of you. Right, no? For number 14 onwards. Alright. Sige, let's play that part. Okay, let's look at that part. Where is that? This one's a little difficult because the speaker is talking faster, and again the speaker is having a monologue. He's the only one talking. Although during the previous example, the lady is the only one talking also. This one, the speaker is so excited about the festival. So that's why his voice is very fast, or his pacing is very fast also. 2 mistakes, 14 and 16. Yeah, so we'll get back to number 14.
We're carrying out a major refurbishment at the
Where's
moment.
that? Sorry, that's not the one. Okay, here you go. So let's play it from the start.
Section 2. You will hear the organizer of a
Very
rock
good.
festival talking to the exhibitors and performers at a planning meeting. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 17 on page 3.
Okay, so that should be the time that you will be analyzing this one, considering all the words that you can find here, and also taking note of the keywords here, or the options that are given here, yung 9 options that you have. Okay, so main gate also, you have to take note of that. There you go. So sometimes, guys, although it is mentioned here, art exhibit, sometimes it's not exactly the word that you hear in the audio. Sometimes it's a synonym that can be mentioned. Okay? So you have to also improve on your vocabulary so that you will know if a certain phrase or a certain word is also means the same thing as the choices that you have. Okay? Also focus on the accent of the speaker. For some, they said that it's a little hard for them to understand the accent in the pacing. Okay, let's go on.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad you could all make this planning meeting for what promises to be the biggest and most colourful free rock festival ever held in the Southeast. So whether you're a performer, a craft exhibitor or an artist, we all extend a big welcome to you. Could we turn first to the plan so I can familiarise you with the layout of the site, which, as you know, is an old football stadium. We're really lucky to have so much space this year. You can see the main gate at the bottom of the plan. Have you found it? That's where most visitors will enter. It's also the entrance for those taking part in the craft fair. We've set the stalls just inside the gate on the left in a circle. If you walk straight ahead from the gate along the path without turning right, you'll come to some steps up to the football stadium. On the left of the steps is the Fringe Stage. This is for alternative artists. They include folk singers, poets and other acts which are more suited to a smaller stage. And they should also enter by the main gate. On the opposite side of the steps is a restaurant, and adjoining that is the main festival information point. Here you can get extra programmes and up-to-the-minute information about events, and you can discuss any last-minute problems, although we hope everything will be running smoothly when the festival opens. Coming back to the plan, you go up the stairs to the stadium. The entrance for the rock bands is on the far side, and on your right is the main stage, which will have powerful illumination and amplification throughout the weekend. There will probably be TV vehicles adjacent, that's in this area only, for recording purposes. If you look at the outside of the plan, you can see a third gate for exhibitors, opening onto a side path. A little way down the path, before you get to the trees, is the building where the art exhibition's being housed. Then
Article.
finally, there's just one more building marked on your plan, quite near the main gate. It's divided into lock-up garages, so I hope you now feel quite familiar with the main festival area.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 18.
Okay, therefore, did you find it easy when did you find it easier when I was annotating inside the map? I was kind of going through here without, if you remember, there was a part there wherein the speaker said you walk through the main gate without turning right. So it means to say that you don't have to turn right, correct? So you have to do that. Sorry, I don't know. These are trees. I don't know if you realize that these are trees. The first time that I experienced or that I saw this, what are these? Are these algae? I don't know. Are they roots? I don't know. But anyway, there are trees. Okay, without turning right. Okay, so how many of you had the mistake in number 14? I think the main reason why you had a mistake in number 14, number 14 is actually the band entrance. The keyword there is on the far end, right? If you remember that phrase that the speaker mentioned, on the far end is the band entrance. So something like that, it was mentioned. Okay. How many made, what are the other mistakes that you've mentioned? Or that you've made? So some others committed two mistakes. Uh-huh. Yeah, so fairly easy. Still fairly easy for this one, although you have to be familiar with the phrases that they have. So I'll be sending later on the links for the materials here, the link for the audio of this test for the type 2 map. Also, I'll be sending also the transcript so that you can review, or if you want, you can just play repeatedly the audio until such time that you have the correct answer for these problems or for these types of maps. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, and for those who got the answers correctly, good job, guys. For those who haven't perfected the answer yet, it will take time, but please make sure that you allot your time with this one, okay? I can see that there are some people on Facebook, their answers have blanks. So it means that you missed a certain point of this one, correct? So it's okay if you missed a certain answer because rather than you missing the entire or the succeeding questions, it's better to just skip something that you miss and just later on just choose whatever is left here. Usually for the maps, you can practice elimination method, meaning to say, if for example for number 11 your answer is letter D, you can cross this one out so that whenever you're waiting for the answer for number 12, you will not be considering letter D anymore because that is the answer for number 11. Same goes for number 14, 13. As you go along with the other questions, it means to say that there is a higher chance for you to get the correct answer. Even though there are two excess choices within, there are two excess possible answers within the choices that you have here, it's okay. Also, in particular, I'd like to take note, what are the answers that were not mentioned here? The main stage. So you can actually label the main stage here because this one was mentioned, right? Yeah, and Godfrey said the first map was more difficult. Really? It varies, no? It varies. Yeah, for me, this one was more difficult in a sense because the speaker was talking really fast. And then for at least for each instance, the answers come usually the answers come on the next sentence immediately or probably after a few phrases. So that's why it's harder for me this way. Okay. Here, the main stage was not part of the question, but then again, it was mentioned. So you can just cross this one out for this one. What else was also not mentioned? The craft park. So you can just also delete it if it was mentioned, but if not, it's okay also. The car park was mentioned. I can remember. I remember it was mentioned. Okay, there you go. There you go. All right. So any questions so far with the maps? Si Godfrey nahirapan dun sa first one. Which one was the harder for the others? We have two samples of maps here. You can keep on practicing whether you'll be taking computer delivered or paper-based test. It's okay for you to keep on practicing. There are a lot of available audio materials on YouTube, or you can download materials online. Also, you can practice also in IELTSonline.com. I think that's it. There you go. Okay, we will be proceeding with, before I proceed with the next part or the next topic, I'll be sharing this one with you, IELTSonlinetests.com. I keep on sharing this with you guys. This is where you can actually practice yan, for computer delivered test, because there are a lot of materials there for all subtests actually. For listening, reading, writing, speaking, there are questions also for that one. But mainly for listening, if you would want to focus, you can actually just log in here. You can create your account, I think, here. For those in Zoom, you can also practice here. Yeah, you can bookmark that. Yan. Weak internet signal, si Verhel. Oh yeah, it really, yeah, it has a problem. Internet. Okay. So bookmark that site. You can practice there. That's free, by the way. Okay. And of course, you can attend sessions like this. Niner gives sessions all throughout for topics such as listening. But for this one, we'll just be focusing on maps. Okay? So no more questions about maps. No more. Goodie. Let's proceed now to the next part, which is the process or gap fill. Sometimes, I know for those of you, have you attended the previous session from last week's listening lecture series? It was, I think, from Sir Marlon, if I'm not mistaken. He was able to discuss also multiple choice. But this one is very particular with a process. So processes appear less common in the IELTS, but yes, they do appear like this. Not really in the format of a process that's the same thing that you see in your writing kind of test, wherein you have images like that, or in your reading wherein you have drawings also, or pictures that indicate a certain process. But in here, it's still a process. It's a stage that the listener would have to undertake or would have to answer in reference to typical part 3 or section 3 question. So in here, as you can see, based on this one, on the left side, you have here your question, and then you have here your answer on the right side. Plus, you have your instructions also for this one. Okay. Typically, for these kinds of tests, you will be given instructions wherein you will have to write the answer. Okay, you will just have to write the answer. It's here, it's mentioned. You'll just have to write the letter. Please do follow that instruction, because there are those who also commit a mistake of writing the whole word. Instead of writing letter A for 26, if that is the correct answer, what they would write is the word container. So that's not actually following instructions, and that would be a demerit. That would be, or the answer for that would not be counted even if you have the correct answer for that. So it would still be not counted because you did not follow instructions. So in listening and in reading also, as well as in writing and in speaking, you have to follow instructions. You have to give whatever is asked of you. If the letter is, or if the direction is asking for the letter, write the letter. If it is asking for the word, write the word. Now for the speaking, now for the computer delivered, sometimes if you have this, if you can remember the video that I presented to you a while ago, you can just drag this one. Sometimes you can just drag the words. So there will be no letters. But instead the words container, soil, weight, you can just drag them to the corresponding numbers. Yan. So, but that's it. Fairly easy for this one. Um, Usually there's a technique for you to do this. One thing for you to know is you have to actually analyze the words. So what kinds of words are these? Container, soil, weight, condition, height, color, types, depths. What kinds of words are those? What part of speech? What part of speech are those? Is it a verb? Is it an adverb? These are nouns. Yeah, these are nouns. So container, soil, weight, condition, all of these are nouns. So usually for some gap fill types of questions, you can predict your answers based on the questions that you have here. But since all of these, very good, John, Anne Ray Domingo, Razel Valdez, Umipig, good job guys, as well as Kathleen Dayo, these are nouns. Sometimes if your words are varying, if for example you have nouns here or somewhere along the options you have verbs, sometimes it is useful for it might work for your benefit because you can look at the questions for reference. You can look at this one. Okay, for number 27, is the answer here, can the answer here be a verb or can the answer here be a noun? In number 27, since the blank is preceded by, what is this? What do you call the THE? What is that? Same part of speech as a or a and an. These are called articles. Yan. So, mga articles sila. So, for the articles, very good. Bell M, Sarah. Sarah, these are articles. You have three articles mainly, the, a, and an. And what comes after an article? Kathleen, very good. Good job. What comes after an article? I have a cat. Sometimes articles, nouns or adjectives sometimes come after nouns. Sorry, nouns or adjectives come after articles. So it depends. But for this one, all of these are nouns. So you cannot use that. But for some instances, you can somehow predict based on the type of options that you are given. So for some gap fill questions, you can predict na. When is the time for you to predict? When is the time for you to predict? Is it while the audio is playing or before it's being played? Before, very good, air. Before, because that's the only time that you're not listening to anything. You're not waiting or you're not anticipating for anything. So the instance wherein it's mentioned, before you proceed to the next part, please look at the questions from number 26 to 30. So usually that takes around 30 seconds or half a minute. Yeah, so that's the time wherein you have to identify, okay, all of these are nouns, so I cannot use that. So anything is possible here. So all of which can appear here in equal chances. But for this one, another thing that you can also do, aside from predicting based on the type of what do you call this, part of speech, you can also say, okay, there's the word sizes. What is a word that somehow comes usually with and sizes? Is it color and sizes? Container and sizes? So usually there are certain words that come in pairs or come in sets, right? So is it weight and sizes, height and sizes, color and sizes, types and sizes? So usually there are things that you can predict might be a viable option for this one. Okay? So there you go. All right. And also take note of the keywords that you can find here. So if you have here select, or if you have here the word different, so you have to understand or you have to anticipate words such as selecting, because in the audio, you might not hear the word select, but what you can hear is the word choose. Okay, so in here, what else? Measuring and recording, you might not hear those words, but instead you can hear the word document or record or take note of. Yan. So those are the words that you might hear, diba? Okay, what else? All right. Okay, there you go. For this one, I will be playing the audio now, and after which I will be asking you to state your answer. Okay, just a minute.
Relevant there. It would.
Not yet.
I read an article. Very impressive.
Was that the article?
Those diagrams were in another article.
That's the first part, or that's the first part of this section.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Anyway, shall we have a look at the procedure for our experiment? We'll need to get going with it quite soon.
Right. So the first thing we have to do is find our seeds. I think vegetable seeds would be best, and obviously they mustn't all be the same size. So how many sorts do we need? About 4 different ones?
I think that would be enough. There'll be quite a large number of seeds for each one.
Then for each seed we need to find out how much it weighs and also measure its dimensions, and we need to keep a careful record of all that.
That'll be quite time-consuming. And we also need to decide how deep we're going to plant the seeds, right on the surface a few millimeters down, or several centimeters.
OK, so then we get planting. Do you think we can plant several seeds together in the same plant pot?
No, I think we need a different one for each seed.
Right. And we'll need to label them. We can use different coloured labels. Then we wait for the seeds to germinate. I reckon that'll be about 3 weeks, depending on what the weather's like. Then we see if our plants have come up and write down how tall they've grown.
Then all we have to do is look at our numbers and see if there's any relation between them.
That's right. So then we get...
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, so again, that half a minute to check your answers is not actually intended for you. To check your answers, I do recommend that the half a minute would be intended for the next part, because I don't know. As for me, it doesn't work well. I cannot remember the words that were mentioned in the audio, so I'm allotting that time for the next part. Yan, sige. Let's look at your answers, guys. What are your answers? 26, 27, 28, 29 until 30. Okay, most of you got it correctly. Most of you got it correctly. Good job, guys. The correct answer for stages in the experiment, I would again type it here. Yan, in Zoom, and I would also be typing it here in the comments section. There you go. Yeah, and how many of you got it? Most of you got number 26 up until 29. But there are some of you who had a hard time with letter number 30. Some of you said F, some of you said yan. So some of you said F. 29 and 30, I think those are the most common mistakes that you had. Relatively for the first few numbers, 26 to 28, you're good to go with that one. But for 29, what are the keywords that you tried to look out for whenever you're answering? So prior to doing this one, we did not do it together. But then again, I do suggest that, as I've mentioned, during the previous section of this one, yung 25 below na question, because you will be given time, right, to analyze or review your answers for the previous part. Do not spend it there. Spend it in actually taking note of the keywords that you would have to anticipate for or as you answer the questions 26 to 30. So take note of the word seeds, of the word sizes, measure and record, and then decide or something else. Different, yeah. So the keywords that you might have to anticipate. If not the exact word, but then again, you can use synonyms for this one also. Okay, and also take note of these things. So for number 29, most of you got it correctly, but for those who had a difficulty with answering number 29 and answered a different letter, why did you make that mistake? Were you looking for the word container with this one, or because some of you answered letter F? Some of you answered F. Why did you answer letter F? In here, although it's a little bit tricky because, yeah, you heard the word color. So let's play it again. Let's play it again. Where was that? Okay. I think for this one.
So the first thing we have to do is find our seeds. I think vegetable seeds would be best, and obviously they mustn't all be the same size. So how many sorts do we need? About 4 different ones?
I think that would be enough. There'll be quite a large number of seeds for each one.
Then for each seed we need to find out how much it weighs and also measure its dimensions. And we need to keep a careful record of all that.
That'll be quite time-consuming. And we also need to decide how deep we're going to plant the seeds, right on the surface a few millimeters down or several centimeters.
OK, so then we get planting. Do you think we can plant several seeds together in the same plant pot?
No, I think we need a different one for each seed.
Right.
Okay, there you go. That's it. The question before was, do you think there needs to be a different plant pot for each? Or do you think can we plant it in a different plant pot? Or same plant pot, sorry, same plant pot for number 29. And then the girl said, no, I don't think that we need a different, I think we need a different one for each seed. Okay, different one. So since in the first statement, in the statement of the guy, the word plant pot was mentioned, it's not referring to color. The word color was mentioned rather towards the end still, right? Okay, so the best answer for this one is not color, but then again, it would be 29, this one. container instead. All right. So what else did you have a problem with? What else did you have a concern with for this one? Yon. Okay. So some of you had a problem with pot container. Correct. What else? This one you got this yung H, you got this one. Record the plant's depths. Sorry, not depths. Record the plant's height or how much it has grown, right? So that phrase, it did not mention height at all, but the guy said you have to record or you have to write down how tall they have grown. So that is also mentioning about the height of the plant. So what else was confusing for this one? I think that's fairly it, right? Fairly easy again. So listening is quite easy if you just put your heart to it. Charot. Okay, what else? All right. Any questions? So for now, I'll be entertaining questions for this one. So this is rather simple for this part. Careful on the words because you realize how important it is for you to listen well and to make your wide vocabulary work for you so that you can watch out for the keywords that are found in your choices or in the options that you have, right? So there you go. Okay, so we'll be continuing on with a different slide for this one. So we'll move on to yan. So far, that's the end for listening. No questions yet. No more questions, no? So no more questions. In behalf of 9.09er, I am glad to share with you. Wait, we have from Facebook. Wait lang. Sige. Jean Andre Domingo from Facebook said, I realized dialogue is more confusing than monologue. Yes, dialogue is more confusing than monologue. For some. For some, it's more confusing. But then again, personally, for me, it's easier because I can identify the differences in terms of the voices. Most especially for the example that we had, there were two people talking, right? So they were answering each other. So it's easier for a person or it's easier for most individuals to analyze or to identify the correct answer because somebody's asking a question and then somebody is answering. Right? So do you notice? There are instances wherein it said, do you think it's easier to, or do you think it's right to plant them in the same container? No. So the answer is, the guy is answering the question. So yung ganun. So there's, do you think it's easier than, no. Yeah. So may mga ganon. There are differences or variations in terms of their tone, in terms of their voices. So it's easier to understand relatively. I think it's just a matter of the words, sometimes the material that there is there. This is more difficult. This one, the example that we had a while ago, is more difficult because in a sense, this is a more academic in nature kind. You will be experiencing a dialogue that's usually for part 2, but sometimes it's easier in nature because the context is social in nature. So let's say a phone interview or a job interview. So between two people, so an applicant and then a manager or a hiring manager. So it's easier for that part because these are the things that we usually listen to most of the time. But for this one, it's academic in nature. It's something that you might not be familiar with. So that I think is something that makes it harder or more difficult. So yun, okay. And then we move on to the promo. Ayan. So we have a good news from 9.09er. From February up until March, we have a running promo brought to you by British Council and 9.09er. So in partnership with 9.09er. This will be running from Feb to March. What you just need to do is to register for your exam here in British Council, Philippines. Philippines only. Sorry for those who are located in other parts of the world, but this is for BC Philippines only. Yan. If you register for the exam using the link that we will be giving later or the QR code that we'll be giving later, you will have the chance to get a free hard copy of the IELTS speaking book or writing book. Sorry to say I don't have the speaking book yet. I will be buying soon, but I have the writing book here. This contains a lot of texts, essays about, new essays to, about various topics, various kinds of questions, agree or disagree, to what extent. And this is written by none other than Sir Brian Martin Shawson, who got, 9.0 lang naman. Quadruple niner si Sir Brian, by the way. Yun. So you will get that, a free copy of this one or the speaking book. And you will also get a free, one round of one-on-one coaching with him, the author of this book. O, diba? Perfect in all sub-tests. Okay? And then you'll also get free 22-hour IELTS online course that's included in the promo that you'll get. And you will also have a chance to attend the IELTS writing and speaking workshop, spearheaded or sponsored by British Council, wherein the speaker would be none other than Miss Rosella Torrecampo. She is a senior IELTS expert of British Council. Okay? She's also a UP Diliman professor. Yan. O, diba? Learn from the best. Okay? So, yan. Also, you'll get free material. Soft copy lang man. Soft copy. The only hard copy that you'll be receiving is either this one or the speaking book. Okay? How can you avail of the promo? You can avail the promo by registering. Ay, wait lang. You can avail the promo by registering through the link or using this QR code. Please take a screenshot of this QR code so that it will be easier for you to register. Okay? Yan. So this promo will run from February up until March 2022. Okay? So yan. Okay na? Are you finished with your screenshots? So that I can move? Yan. All right. And then here we go. This is, I'm sorry to say, so let me just reiterate, no? This is not applicable for those who are living overseas, or if you're a Filipino resident, but your exam is not with British Council, or this will not also be applicable if your exam with British Council is on April 1, 2022 onwards, or if your exam is also not registered using the link. So you have to use the QR code that we've given a while ago. So that's the only time that you can avail of the promo. Okay, because when you avail of the promo, you have to enter mga details or promo codes so that they will also be giving you the, what do you call that? They would be able to give you the access. Yan. So again, QR code for those who are planning to register for the exam up until March 2022. Last call for the QR code. And then here you go. Yan. So last reminder, for the IELTS workshop, please make sure that you have or please make sure that you've written the code, promo code BC IELTS X9er, okay? So that you can receive the freebies coming from 9.09er. So after registering at British Council, they will send you the Zoom registration link via email so that you can participate in the IELTS writing and speaking workshop, okay? So yun, grab nyo na to guys. By the way, this is free ha. All you just have to do is to just pay and register for your exam. But please also make sure na you have prepared well for your exam. So please watch all the lectures that we have. And please be thankful to all those who are managing, and to all the admins of IFNG. Yan. So guys, all of the admins here in IFNG are working nurses and working professionals. They're doing this as an extra extra endeavor, and then parang vocation. Their vocation na to help the others also to achieve their dreams. So please pray for them and please also wish them well. Yan, because they also want you to achieve whatever it is that they've achieved na. Okay? So yun. So far, that's it from us from 9.09er. I hope you've learned a lot for listening, particularly about maps. For my last reminders about the listening na lang in general, last reminder about the listening in general, at the end of all the all the parts, you will be given an extra 2 minutes for computer delivered, and for paper based, you'll be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers. Please do not leave anything blank. Do not leave anything blank, because you can, who knows, even if you're just guessing an answer, that might be a correct answer, diba? Especially if that is multiple choice, or especially for maps, sometimes most of the times your choices are already given. So, diba, that's already increasing your answer of getting a correct score. Sayang rin kasi yung points, okay? Every point matters dito for the listening. This is fairly easy. I mean, personally, this is fairly easy, especially if you're the type of person, or if you have a particular grade requirement and you're having a hard time with the other kind of subtests. Listening is something that can work for your advantage. If you scored high for this, who knows? It might be able to pull up your overall band score, diba? So work also well with this one. Practice a lot time for this also, as well as for the other subtests. Make sure that you're planning well your study habits, and you're balancing it well. Okay. Gauge your current state, your baseline also, so that you know how much you need to study for listening, and what is your target score for listening, so that it can help pull up your grade for the overall band score. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. I know most of you still came from work, but I hope we from 9.09er continue to give you the best of what we have. God bless you, everyone, and stay safe. Mr. M is here. Yan. Mr. M.
Hi, good evening again, Miss Den. And again, in behalf of IFNG admin, Sir Jeff, Miss Gladys, Sir Manuel, Miss Michelle, we would like to thank you, 9.09er, Miss Den Solis, for gracing us tonight and sharing your expertise. And that's it. We'll call it for tonight. Good night, guys. God bless. Bye-bye.